Right now, people, I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk about some of the sentences, the jobs I've done on different sentences. And then I'll get to the point of it to end the video. If we start with St Camilla's, well, when you went to St Camilla's, which was Naughty Boys Home, it was an approved school. We all know what happened at Naughty Boys Homes, don't we? They're still prosecuting people for it. Well, in there, if you were of school leaving age, you had to learn a trade because you were going to be there 4 years. So you did an apprenticeship in whatever trade you wanted. There were plumbers, brickies, painters, sparkies, joiners. And I did painting and decorating. Well, painting and decorating then, which we're talking 1972, plaster, fancy plaster coving, artexing, sign writing, papering, wood graining, everything to do with decorating were all part of a painting and decorating apprenticeship. Now they've broke it down on each thing, you can go and do a course on each thing. But you can go and do a course, Dad, and come out calling yourself a painter and you've done a 6-month course. Well, that ain't even possible, mate. On a apprenticeship, you won't get to use a brush for first 6 months or so. You have to learn how to look after the tattle. So burning the pots out, cleaning the brushes, alt prep. You get put on alt prep and everything else. You've got to learn to prepare a job properly. So for them to go on a painter's course and do 6 months and come off and call them, passing themselves off as painters. Well, what also happened in them approved schools, you got people like Mr. David Peake, 8th Dan, Commonwealth Judo gold medalist. 8th Dan, like I said. He taught judo all over West Yorkshire, and he was an housemaster on a night on units, and he taught plumbing through day. And then when he were on houses on a night, he was a nonce. He got prosecuted for that. I'm not going to get into all that on this. Watch me St Camilla's tapes. Then there's Armley Prison. I've worked, God knows, it's an allocation prison, Armley. It was my allocation prison. So for every sentence you got nicked, I always got remanded. Always. But that's how it was in them times. 70s and 80s, my criminal career, shall we say, started. So, but then there were high classes, old school criminals like armed robbers and things like that. So that's where I came in contact with all old villains like Armley Prison. I were hospital orderly, January 81. That's when I fed Yorkshire Ripper every day. And my job down there was you'd had to get cons alight and all that sort of thing. And there were a lot of dangerous criminals down that hospital wing. Round that time as well, they were just closing to mental health institutes like Stanley Royd at Wakefield and places like that. They were closing them all down. So all these people with serious disorders, schizophrenia and that, were put out, stuck on medications and thrown out on streets. Well, half of them weren't even capable of making sure they took the medication. So within weeks, they were getting nicked and thrown in Armley prison and that, and having to be re-nutted off, shall we say. So that was when I was hospital hardly. But in Armley, I've worked in kitchens a couple of times under Mr. Green. He was strict, but he was a good screw, really. I liked him. You knew where you stood with him. You got nothing apart from what you were entitled to. And if he were in a good mood, he'd put steak on and that for kitchen lads. So he did treat lads every now and again. And he used to take piss, because he were only an SO. While chief officer were in office, he'd have his hat on. He'd be sat there on... They had like a vicar's pulpit where vicar has his Bible. Well, they had a similar table. They used to sit there surveying all kitchen with chief sat on. I used to like it in kitchens. There were long hours, hard graft, and half the time you had to eat in the kitchen while you were working. Or you'd just grab it and sit down anywhere in the kitchen while you ate it. Like I say, it was hectic. And I worked in New Kitchen when they put it up on, when they built E-Wing, E and F Wing. I never went up onto F Wing, actually. Kitchen's as far as I got. And servery on F Wing, which was just a beginning at Wing, really. So I didn't get on the wing itself. Other than that, I've been a cleaner on C Wing. I've been on works department. I've been a yard green band. That was a great job, that, yard green band. You just went and stood against the door and a screw would come and unlock it and let you through. Walk round with a bag, a black bin liner, carrying everything, all of it, nick for everybody. Great job it was. I used to go up on any wing I wanted. I'd just walk round the neck. You just had to watch for dog anglers and make sure dog anglers knew where you were. Don't walk near building or too close to the wall. Well, actually, near the wall you were okay, because bottom of the wall's white, so you stood out. Because them dogs were mean, I mean proper mean. They're not like a police dog. They're nastier because they've got a wall containing them, so they can't get near public. So that was a really good job, that. Used to shout up to lads up on themselves and throw me stuff down and tell me where they wanted it took. And I'd take my bit off. So I did pretty well on that. And that's why I keep my gob shut. What it is. In all prisons, you've got the landing idiots. The wind screws up all day. Well, everybody winds screws up, but they go to extremes. I mean, bad on them, you know what I mean? Because they ain't got mentality to do hotels. So what they do, they get into screws, which is good for rest of us, because while they're watching all idiots, screws are watching all idiots. We can get on with fiddles. In olden days, like when you only got slop out, and an hour exercise, weather permitting. So a lot of time, you know what English weather's like, or if you were like in Manchester, where it rains all the time. That's why they had all ammunition dumps and that over in Manchester and that, places like that, because they're always overcast because of moors and everything and all storms that come off moors and that. So it's always raining over there. So you miss exercise a lot. 1976, I were in Strangeways, hottest summer there's been. That were horrible, that. You were having to go down and get your food, back up to your cells, put it down, strip off. That's how bad it were in them cells. Strip off. You couldn't get out of landing to clean your cell out. And when they unlocked the door, you got that rush of air. Wow, you come out on landing and we're like, wow, you know what I mean? But even on landings, it were hot, because they have they have glass roofs, don't they? With cages on them and that, so you can get light in. In Preston, I were on works department, on painters, under Mr. Brown. He died, I think it was related to asbestos from painting over years, of painting likes of, we had to in Preston, all cellar where all pipes and tanks were for water and that, and we had to paint them, and they're all lagged with asbestos and everything. So he died, cancer, unfortunately. I were in riot there as well. That was 87. I did two sentences in Preston. Preston had an hostel as well for lifers finishing off, and they had all budgies. As lifers went to Preston to finish off, to go in hostel part, if they had a cage bird, they took it off them because they weren't allowed it. And they had cages on centre, big massive cages round. And they had a budgie red band. It was his job just to look after budgies. Lancaster, the castle, that was a good nick. I were in there. I did a 2.5 year sentence in there. I went straight into kitchens there. I was lucky, I got straight into kitchens. You see, once you've done a couple of jobs and going right back to a proof school and everything else, I'm one of these that don't kick off. Once you've got nicked, you nicked, that's it. There's no point kicking off with people that are nicking you, for example. But with police, it was a different thing. They'd beat you up and everything and set you up and wrote statements for you, whether you met them or not, you know what I mean? And they even used to put a little bit on end at statement, and it used to read, I have read the above statement, and I have been told I can correct, alter or add anything I wish. This statement is true. I have made it of my own free will. And then they'd even put refuse to sign, and that would go into magistrates or judges, and judge took that as gift, you know what I mean? Because that's how it was then. That's how it was. West Yorkshire Police didn't even talk to South Yorkshire Police even, you know what I mean? Right in early 80s, even forensic were pretty new. It was just sort of coming in then. So you got away with a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like I've said before, a lot of stuff I went to jail for was petty stuff, mostly. I'm not saying that I wasn't a criminal, because I was, and I don't deny what I was. I don't deny what I was. I'm not ashamed of what I was. I did what I did to put food on the table and feed my family. And that's it. That's what I did. That's the way things was then. It was a lot rougher, and it wasn't anything like it is now, people. There weren't even roads like there is now, you know what I mean? For example, horse and cart and things, you know. They were just starting to build motorways and stuff. People couldn't afford cars. My dad was a miner, he worked out pit, and he worked on Coal Face on Shearer. And I remember him telling me in early 60s that he were on about £7, £7.5 or something a week. It was stupid wages. When I started hawking, we traveller, we did fruit and veg and everything, and as well as scrap and rags. People were poor. That's how it was. Now it's a different kettle of fish altogether. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. But police will still find ways of fitting you up, and that's why it likes of me and other auditors are out exposing, like say bent police and now I want to get on to a video. I wasn't gonna do all this bickering business, but I watched Live Free's video again today, and I'm not happy at all with what he's coming out with on there. I don't mind him coming out with bollocks and calling me a pedo and stuff like that, because nobody's going to believe that anyway. In fact, he's not calling me a pedo no more. In fact, he's still saying that he don't wish me no malice, and this is on his London video yesterday. He says he don't like me and all that. I understand all that, but that's his own doing that. And I might be bickering and saying this and that and tit for tat between us two at minute because we've fell out and everything. And things have been said. But I keep seeing comments about him being a bad family man and all that. And I'm sorry, people, but I can't have that. I dislike what he's done. I don't dislike him as a person. I don't dislike him as a person. I dislike what he's turned into, shall we say. He said that I've begged him to take me out auditing. It was other way round. I didn't want to do this auditing thing. People was telling me to write a book because of criminals I've met, like Yorkshire Ripper, Panther, and just to mention a few. And I've told people stories on them and that. And it's other people that told me to write a book and put idea into my head. And then I thought, well, yeah. Because there's a lot of things that, like Yorkshire Ripper and Panther, talked to me about that he wouldn't talk to Screws about, you know, because I was another convict. But now Live Free is trying to say that the jobs I did were on paedophile wings. What's he talking about, paedophile wings? Paedophile wings, they have their own paedophile cleaners and paedophile... You don't work on paedophile wings. They use their own nonsense to do that. It's got this fascination with nonsense. I don't understand you, Chris. I don't understand you. Old school cons don't want to talk about things like that all the time. It's not done. It's not nice. It's not nice at all. When we come across paedophiles, they got beat up and thrown over the fucking landing. Oops, excuse that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear then. See, I've only got to think about them people, and that's what it does to them. And that's why Live Free has called me one. Not because he believes that I am one. It's a name that he knows he can call me, and it does my brain in. Because it did the same thing to him when people were calling him it. That's why I'm shocked he's even called me it. Even as much as we fell out, I would not call him a paedophile. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't call him anything that he's not. It's like I've just told you. People that keep going on about him being a bad family man and he beats his missus up and all bollocks like that. I think you should... people that say things like that, they're the ones that actually do it. Now, what I will say is, and I'm only going to say it once because I'm not supposed to like Chris at minute, but I'm only going to say it once. Chris is an excellent family man. He loves his missus and he loves his family. And he works to keep them. That's all he lives for, his family. And I admire him because there ain't many people like us that are like that left anymore. They go beating the kids up and doing stuff like that. Them people want life, you know. Life, that's what they should get, life. They can't live among society, they should be taken away from it. They should have another Australia and ship them all out there and make them all live together, people like that. They shouldn't be left in society. Now back to my prison things, because I'm getting off subject. Armley Prison, our B2 roll board. B2 roll board, number 1 roll board. All the other roll boards, they keep tally on who's there on their landings. If anybody moves off their landing, they have to go down and notify the number 1 roll board. Although that'll have already been done by its crew taking them off the wing. Everything that were done went through number 1 roll board's cell. That's when the Panther was on my Cat A cell. Part of my job, I used to have to take their clothes out. They had to put the clothes in a box, and it's taken out of the cell every tea time and put into office, and it's kept in there, and they get it back next morning. All long term go into Cat A cells, and they're left in Cat A cells for so long just to make sure that they've got the red round sentence and they're not going to start trying to commit alley or else stupid like that. So that's where I met Panther, and that's where me, Block Audley, and Mr. Matthews gave evidence against A-Team to get him disbanded. They actually beat a kid up, dragged him round off B-Wing, threw him down steps of Block. Mr. Matthews was Block screw at the time, and I was taking his cup of tea down. That's how I witnessed it. And Mr. Matthews went to lad that A-Team had dragged down and beat up and thrown in strip cell, went up to his cell and unlocked his cell and told him to repeat what had happened to him to Governor next morning, and me, Block Audley, and Mr. Matthews would back him up. So that's what happened. I've also been a cleaner on most other wings in Armley. Even going right back to Old Bathhouse. There's not many who'll remember where Old Bathhouse was. And it's been filled in. Well, they've put a floor over it now because it were on C1. It were below entrance to get into the bathhouse will be below steps that go up onto threes from twos by office. Well, about quarter of way up wing. Northallerton, I worked in sewing machine repair shop for a while. I worked on landings as a cleaner for a while. And then I dropped on Visits Ardley. And I was Visits Ardley for months and months, and I loved that job. I had all sorts of fiddles. I used to get money in. I rigged light switch so you could pull front switch off, put the notes in, and shove thing back on in toilets, visitors' toilets. So I'd watch for one of my mates, whoever's I were getting money in for, I'd watch his visitor go into the toilet. And it was a blind spot where screws couldn't see. So I could nip into the toilet after one of the visitor had been in, grab the money, get it out, move it, and I'd put it in one of the lockers. When you went in and you were getting searched, you took your tobacco and everything out and put it in a little box and put a padlock on it. It had a padlock and you put a padlock on it and you kept the key. I had one of them boxes and I kept the key all the time with me, and I had it on me kitchen key because I had a little key for the kitchen door. Even screws weren't allowed in it. So that was one good job. And then I went on garden party and I found a chief inspector's wallet when I was walking back. I actually did a video, HMP Northallerton and Northallerton Police Station on that, so I'm not going to say too much about that. Watch the video, that's another good video. Ramby, HMP Ramby. That was another good nick. That we worked in a shop and they put background cassettes together, and they play like an 8-track. They use them in restaurants and places like that. I think they might still do. Oh, they'll use something similar, won't they now? So when I worked in that shop, the geezer that used to come for the bin, I used to put a couple of machines in the bin. And then time after he'd come, he'd leave the new bin, and under the back corner, on right hand corner, because that one nearest to the building, he'd leave me fucking some backer or money or whatever we'd arranged at that time. And then I moved up onto admin Ardley. That was a brilliant job, admin Ardley. I had a secretary there, changing me 20s. And highest currency you were allowed on you at that time, because we're talking 1979, was a 50p piece. And I've done a video on that as well, so there's a few little antics on that happened while I were in there that you'll find interesting. So I suggest you go back and watch that video. HMP Ramby. You'll enjoy it. It's a good video. Then I did 2 Waxy Borstal, Everthorpe. 1976, 1979. I worked in Carps 1. Then I were in David's House Ardley, so I made T-Fot screws. That was in 79, that one. In 76, I worked in Carps 1, and then I applied to a Visits Ardley job, and they didn't give me Visits Ardley, but they put me on outside farm. Milking cows, dairy cows. That was a great job, that. Milking twice a day. We used to have to get up, go down, get ready, down to Borstal, walk down to Borstal, from Borstal down to farm ourselves. I've done 2 videos on HMP Everthorpe. I did one with Live Free. So the one with Live Free is a good one, in fact. So I suggest I did it with Live Free and Society X. So I suggest you go back and watch that. I think I'm going to call this video quits for now. And do a part 2 on this video, I think. So I'll say, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thanks to all my subscribers and all my soldiers. And like I've said before, I'm in process of sorting out what to do about the soldiers, and I've got to do something. I've got to keep up with my promise with that. But as yet, I haven't had anything off YouTube. But I'm going to check again and see what's what, and find out if it's something I haven't done or what. I don't know. So I'll have to look into that. But like I said, that's something Live Free used to do for me. So it's something I'm going to have to learn to do myself now. I've got somebody checking things for me at the minute. So once again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Respect.